Hi everyone, Paul here from FamilyWheels.ca with another car review for your growing family. And in case you haven't noticed, the plug-in hybrid movement is picking up a lot of steam these days. We have manufacturers from Chevy to Volvo coming out with viable options that give you solid range, quickly falling prices, and the thing is, they're actually selling too. When I tested the new Volvo XC60 for you last month, I was told by one dealership that they couldn't get the plug-in hybrid version fast enough to keep up with demand. Meanwhile, the brand new Toyota Prius Prime has longtime loyalists of that company pretty excited too. And not one to be left out of the party, Honda has jumped into the pool with its brand new offering. This is the Clarity. Now, the whole point of plug-in hybrids is that you can go a reasonable distance exclusively on batteries that you've charged up from your wall socket, at which point these cars' combustion engines kick in. So in theory, it's a great combination because you can just run an electric vehicle for trips around town, but get the range you need with gasoline-powered engines for longer trips. But I'll be honest, we've seen some pretty dismal electric range numbers out of the first wave of plug-in hybrid vehicles. Take that BMW X5 plug-in hybrid that we were driving around in a couple of months ago. It had 22 kilometers of electric range. The new Prius Prime, well, it can go about 40 kilometers. That's getting a bit better. But the Clarity ramps its electric range up to a much more impressive and far more viable 76 kilometers under ideal conditions. That's 47 miles. And at a well-equipped starting price just under $40,000 Canadian, and that's before provincial incentives, these cars are also getting way more attainable. That is, if you can get past these looks. Holy cow, it's like a vacuum cleaner got it on with a toaster. I really don't know what Honda was thinking here with this car, quite honestly, but let's get inside and see if its efficiency, see if its clever design touches are enough to get us thinking beyond these truly paper bag worthy looks this week here on Family Wheels. Well, I gotta say, Honda's on a bit of a roll right now, winning all kinds of accolades for their latest line of vehicles. The new Accord, the new CR-V, the new Civic. The company's including way more standard features on its cars, some solid value in there now too, and pretty good looking options as well. But man, Honda's hybrid division really needs to wheel across the hall and learn a thing or two, because this isn't the first time that one of the company's hybrid vehicles has looked kind of brutal. I mean, think of that first or second generation of the Honda Insight. Now, of course, looks are very subjective, but just take a look at this thing. It's all bulbous off the back end, angular in just the wrong places. Those partially covered rear wheel wells are there to help with fuel economy, but make it look even stranger, and it somehow simultaneously looks from the future and really dated all at once. But if you give it a chance, you hold your nose and you get inside, it looks really good in here. The base price on this car comes in at $39,900 Canadian, which granted is a few $1,000s more than its biggest competitor, the Prius Prime. But with that, you're getting LED headlights and tail lights, an 8-inch infotainment system with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, dual zone climate control, a proximity key with push button start, and you're also getting some great safety features like adaptive cruise, lane keep assist, forward collision mitigation braking, and a camera built into the right side mirror that flashes what's in your blind spot right here on the infotainment system whenever you turn your right turn signal on. That is some solid equipment, and for an extra $4,000, you're going to find yourself in this touring trim, which is the highest level that you can get in the Clarity. Only 2 options available to you in this car. But most notably in this top-of-the-line version, you're getting leather seats, these really cool Alcantara suede inserts in the doors and on the dashboard, and Honda's in-house navigation, rather than having to run off your smartphone data for Apple CarPlay or Android Auto and their maps. Now here's what I'm missing on this car though. Even on this top-level trim, there are not any motorized seats. It's all manual adjustments here. There's no lumbar adjustment at all. And I'll be honest, the seats in this car, not particularly comfortable for big long drives. There's also no sunroof, there are no ventilated seats, and just when I thought Honda had learned its lesson, reintroducing the volume knob in the likes of the Fit and the CR-V, after much consternation over the touchscreen volume control, guess what? There's no knob here in the Clarity. And don't go thinking that the hands-free voice command functions will come to the rescue either. They're overly complicated, downright frustrating, even for simple tasks like changing the radio station. And while there are controls for the volume on the steering wheel, all the switchware on the wheel feels kind of chiclety and cheap, which really takes away from the overall feeling in the cabin. And that's a shame, because elsewhere here in the Clarity, it looks good, it feels good. It's a nice, clean, uncluttered interior. The switches in the doors and for the climate control feel decidedly upscale. I like this floating center console with the push button transmission, the faux wood inlay, the Alcantara that I was telling you about. It all looks great. It's also a quiet cabin too, 61 decibels at 100 kilometers an hour based on our decibel reader tests. And with 212 horsepower, when you combine its electric and combustion engines together, it's no slouch either. Now there are various drive modes, including Eco and Sport, to play around with here in the Clarity, and unlike many other hybrid cars out there, even when you do pop it into Sport and hammer on this car, provided you still have the electric range on tap, you really have to work hard for it to finally say, okay, yeah, let's turn on the gas and supplement that electric power. Right up to highway speed, I found that to be true as well. Right now, for example, I'm doing 110 kilometers an hour and I'm still running strictly off the batteries. So theoretically, if you've got high-speed driving as part of your daily commute, you could still very likely be strictly running as an electric vehicle. And once you do finally run out of EV range, as we've done a number of times here this week, the 1.5 liter 4-cylinder gasoline engine is still very efficient, albeit a little bit gutless. But you don't buy a car like this for its blistering light-to-light performance, you buy it for efficiency. And we've averaged this week an amazing 1.1 liters per 100 kilometers. Now granted, that's mostly under electric power on shorter drives around town, but we've also done our share of highway driving, and that is a remarkable number. Now, like pretty much every other hybrid out there at this point, another way that you can build power back into your battery packs is by using the regenerative braking system here in this car. But another feature that you can use in this vehicle to do that are these standard paddle shifters. Now, it's not just nice for using them to go around corners or big hills, but also for braking up toward a stop sign or a stoplight, because when you use these paddle shifters, that power, the force of you coming to a stop, is sent back into the batteries, giving you more range. The continuously variable transmission on board this car, by the way, is also quite good. But if you're looking for a more traditional transmission feel, Hyundai's opted for a very sporty 6-speed dual clutch in its Ioniq family of vehicles. But just like the Prius Prime from Toyota, the Ioniq plug-in hybrid can't touch the electric range here on the Clarity. It comes about 30 kilometers short of what you can get in this car. But I should put a caveat on these numbers, because as I mentioned earlier, this car's 76 kilometer EV range is under really ideal driving conditions. For example, even though temperatures have been just below freezing at times this week, our range has been more like 55 kilometers on a charge. By the way, if you have a larger 240 volt outlet for charging, your charge time will be around 2.5 hours, but a standard household plug will take 12 hours to charge up the Clarity, and that falls well behind the 5.5 hours to get a full charge in the Prius Prime on a regular 120 volt outlet. But unlike a lot of the other previous generations of plug-in hybrids, the Clarity is actually a really nice size car. You don't have to give up space and second row comfort in order to have a bit of a greener conscience. In fact, its interior volume is best in class. I can sit in the second row as a 6'2" tall guy with lots of room to spare, and our rear-facing car seat test saw a shockingly good 30.5 inches measured from the back of the front passenger seat cushion up to the glove box. A lot of our 7-passenger SUV reviews haven't been able to touch those numbers. But what Honda gains in second row points, it quickly loses when you go to the trunk on this car. Yes, it has 439 liters of capacity, which is pretty good, but while it may look like a hatchback from the back, like we see in the Ioniq or the Prius, it's actually a far less versatile sedan style car. And that'll make hauling bigger items far trickier, which is not helped at all by the uneven trunk floor. It sits at two different heights, and that's because the batteries are stored back there, which means that there's also no room for a spare tire. So instead, Honda's opted for one of those tire repair kits, which take up much less space. And while second row seats do flip down into a 60-40 split, they don't fold flat. And there are all kinds of weird flappy things to get in the way, and that makes the egress into the main cabin really quite small for putting longer items into this car. And I don't even know what the purpose of this tiny interior window is that separates the trunk from the second row. It certainly doesn't help with rearward visibility. The back window is all split up on us in here, so I'm really pleased that a rear backup camera does come standard, because backing this thing up without it would be a total nightmare. Well, the Honda Clarity is an impressive car, a smart car on so many levels, and especially when you factor in up to $14,000 in rebates depending on the province you live in, it can also be a really good value. But it's as if the company got so wrapped up in making those things good that they forgot about other really important stuff like looks or a practical trunk. It's a shame because this is a Honda, so chances are it's going to be around for a while. In fact, its first scheduled maintenance beyond regular fluid and filter changes is at 160,000 kilometers. But the big question I'm left with here is, do you really want to look at it for that long? I know beauty really is in the eye of the beholder, so leave your comments below. Let us know what you think of the looks here on the Clarity, and we'll see you next time right here on Family Wheels.